Thank you so much for joining us today in this very important discussion we're having today. We're doing this in commemoration of Earth Day 2022, organized by Unicef the Gambia and Clean Earth the Gambia. We're joined here by relevant stakeholders, including policymakers, development agencies, children and young people, as we have this intergenerational dialogue to discuss the theme of this year's Earth Day discussion, which is Invest in Our Planet. As you are aware, climate change is one of the biggest threats we continue to face in the Gambia and at the global level. The Gambia, as an LDC country, is quite vulnerable to the impacts of climate change, ranging from vulnerability to sea level rise, drought, flash floods, pollution, land degradation, among others. If you have been following discussions around, you will see that just last year, in 2021, we had an impact of climate-induced windstorm and flash flood, which actually affected rural Gambia. And obviously, when these climate threats occur, it is usually the most vulnerable groups, such as children, young people, and women, that are actually impacted. At the global level, it has been shown that the impacts of climate change has actually resulted in over 4 million girls not being able to complete their education. And this number is expected to increase to 12.5 million every year by 2025 if this is not addressed. In addition, we see how young people, women and girls, continue to be displaced by the impacts of climate change, affecting their education, as well as other things that they could basically engage on. So that is why, in this panel discussion we're having here today, we will be engaging these relevant stakeholders to tell us not only what they have been doing as far as addressing the climate crisis is concerned, but how well we're able to build synergy and partnership in moving forward, especially in addressing climate change in the Gambia. And that is why we're going to be starting with Honorable Minister of Environment, Climate Change and Natural Resources of the Gambia, Honorable Lamin B. Diba, to just tell us what his ministry has been doing, working with young people and NGOs in addressing climate change in the Gambia.
Great. Thank you very much, Fatou, and good morning to all of you. Indeed, it's a great pleasure to see young people have the ambition to come on and tackle climate change head-on. And it's important that you are engaged because you are the future of this country. And looking at the theme, what we are looking at, why do we even need to commemorate our day? Is to reflect on human beings, our activities into the environment, and what consequences those activities are having on our various ecosystems, and thus leading to climate catastrophe that we are faced with today. And this is why governments around the world converged in Paris in 2015 to come up with a concrete plan to see how best we can deal with this issue. But as Fatou has highlighted, there are cohorts of segments of population that suffers most when these things happen. Being a developing country, being a least developed country itself, and us where we are located, that is the Sahel, already we are vulnerable. So that vulnerability, how do we work together with other relevant stakeholders to see that we reduce those risks that we are faced with? We all know that Gambia, we have a coastline of almost 80 kilometers. And with 1 meter sea level rise, our entire capital city is gone. With 1 meter sea level rise, where we are now sitting right now, would not be any more. We have our coastal people whose livelihood are dependent on the sea. If we allow this to happen, how would we be able to account for this as a government? So as a government, a responsible government, this is why the Gambia government took climate change as one of the key priority areas to deal with the issue of global climate emergency. Because already, whether you know it or you don't know, climate change is already a global emergency. This is why last week, the IPCC published a damning report which is very scary. And I believe the scientists are sending the last warning, to us, so that we know what actions to take as a responsible government, as global citizens. This is why the partnership that she talked about is not only at country level, but we have to look at regional and international cooperation among states. This is why the Paris Agreement is very, very important for us to set our ambitions. And for Gambia, we know that we, as a government, we have a climate change policy that aims to mainstream climate change into all sectors of the economy, but more so to ensure that the vulnerable segment of our population is sensitized and they know what are the consequences of this. And as a result, Fatou, my ministry, when I took over, having a civil society background, knowing the importance of civil society and the role that they play in advocating, both at the policy level and also at the grassroots. We have a policy that we are going to enter into a formal agreement with civil society organization in the form of a MOU. And since I took over as minister responsible, we have signed several MOUs with several civil society organizations. All that is to guide the ministry to know who is where and what they are doing. And I am glad that civil society came together to form the Environment Platform Alliance that I was privileged to be part of the launching ceremony. And this is a good sign that we will be able to coordinate among ourselves and know who is where and what they are doing, and government would be able to account for what activities are there. And this has some serious benefits for us as a government, as a planner. We know who is doing what to avoid duplication, which is characterized the civil society. Though I come from civil society, I know duplication sometimes is one of our major hindrance, because everybody would want to be identified by your own niche that you want to occupy. But when we come together and we have a common challenge that we need to tackle, I think it is important that we all come together and be under one umbrella and be coordinated and monitored so that we know the impact that we are making. So Fatou, for that, we have last year before last, 2020, when the corona broke out, my ministry, we have given support to civil society organization, the youth organization called Green Up, the Combo Yiriwa Kafo, and some other that I cannot remember, and we have given them a token to see how best to support their grassroots activities. And this is a policy that we will continue to pursue, but I am very much glad to see that young people of this country have taken interest in ensuring that we deal with our environmental, particularly climate change. So I am encouraged, and we would want to encourage you to dialogue with policymakers, to dialogue with us. Any question that you have, any issue that you have, let's dialogue and talk about it so that together we will all be able to achieve the results, and we own up to it. And Fatou, I have the firm conviction that there is sustainability in what we are doing.
Definitely. Thank you so much, Honorable Minister. There is definitely sustainability in what we're doing. And I can remember when we had one of our major activities in our force engagements, we came to the ministry for support, and your ministry was very much open and willing to support us with trees where we were able to plant in certain coastal zones in the Gambia. So I can attest to the fact that your ministry has been doing quite a remarkable work in working with civil society organizations in the Gambia. And you've mentioned quite certain crucial points, especially the fact that the Gambia is in the Sahel, and the Sahel is one of the most vulnerable regions. We're seeing that the Sahel in the next few years will have over 700 million people that will be displaced, especially in terms of food security, which will lead to more climate-induced civil wars, among others. And the fact that you have also mentioned the fact that Gambia, especially in Banjul, we're vulnerable to sea level rise, and how the Gambia is mainly dependent on agriculture, and how these climate-induced problems could affect us a lot. is something that is definitely very much important for us to take note of. And Gambia has been doing quite a good job in really ensuring that we have certain policies that will really reflect the realities that we're facing on the ground and ensuring that they are being implemented. That is why the Gambia has been named as the country, that is the only country that is compatible, whose NDC is compatible to the IPCC 1.5 report according to the Climate Action Tracker, which is a remarkable thing. So, Honourable Minister, I'll come back to you, but just to continue from where you stopped, especially with the work that you've been doing with NGOs, I'd just like to throw this question to Unicef Gambia. Just wanted to ask how Unicef the Gambia is supporting national efforts in addressing climate change in the Gambia, especially amongst vulnerable groups, particularly children, because these are areas that you are actually focused on. So how are you complementing or supporting national efforts in addressing climate change?
Thank you very much, Fatou, and thank you very much, Honorable Minister. UNICEF is working with the children and young people in the Gambia to support government effort for the climate change and environment. So, for example, during the World Children's Day in 2021, UNICEF launched the initiative called Youth Voices in Sahel, where 100 young people connected each other from 10 Sahel countries so that they can exchange their ideas and discussion, and also to promote the dialogue with policymakers. So this group was also given opportunity to contribute AU-EU Summit in February this year. And also there was a World Water Forum in Senegal in March this year, where also a member from young people from the Gambia participated to contribute the discussion. So at the regional and global level, UNICEF supports young people for their meaningful participation. Why it's important? Because climate change crisis is a child rights crisis. They will be most affected, and they will bear the heaviest burden for the future. So we partner with young people and children and civil societies, not only as beneficiaries, but also actors, because they can take action in their communities. So just example, even here, many young people joined last Saturday, UNICEF organized Clean Beach activities, where more than 100 young people from the Gambia, they participated to clean the beach together, to raise awareness, and then to care for their environment, despite of the Ramadan season. So as Minister mentioned, we are very much encouraged by the young people of the Gambia. They are the hope, they are the treasure. So we continuously work with young people because they also expressed their concerns. According to U report, UNICEF launched more than 48% of young people mentioned that the rains and floods are their biggest concerns affected by climate change in their communities. And also 50% of young people also observed the reduction of food production in their surroundings because of climate change and its impact. So the climate change impact is actually everyday, life impact for them and for their community. So we work closely with young people and CSO, including also Red Cross. During the climate-induced disaster incidents, we partner with them quickly. We pre-position essential water, sanitation, hygiene supplies so that we can act immediately when crisis or disaster strikes, so that we can serve and then support communities and families, most vulnerable households who are affected by climate-induced disasters.
Definitely.
So throughout UNICEF programming, we work closely with young people and of course with the government, civil societies, private sectors, so that we can design climate responsive or disaster responsive programming for the children. And we also work for the advocacy together with the young people and to promote the dialogue among the policymakers. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So yes, definitely I'll just give a quick flashback about the last beach cleanup that was organized on Saturday. The turnout was definitely massive, and we could see that young people across the country are really eager to really complement or also join as far as climate action is concerned. And we're really looking forward to seeing more young people get engaged, because this is a concern for everyone. And as you've mentioned, children and young people are definitely actors and need to be involved. That is why we're going to have conversations about climate justice without having young people and children in the conversation, contributing to the discussion as far as policy making is concerned, as far as program implementation is concerned. And that's why we're joined here by a young person and also a children's rep, so that they could share also their reflection and some of the challenges that they are facing as far as climate action in the Gambia is concerned. And I'll move to Sariba, who is going to at least maybe share how we could basically strengthen youth networks in the Gambia in building a stronger climate action.
How we can strengthen youth networks in climate program, bringing up more private climate programs, like if we can have youth networks empowered to conduct workshops whereby they can share their challenges and experiences, from where they can be able to come up with solutions, to come up with better programs. And also, if we could have scholarship opportunities for youth networks so that they can enhance their capacities in the areas of concern, so that they can be able to bring up more scientific-based solutions to environmental issues. And also another one is to bring forward more opportunities for collaborations with regional and international bodies, like sister foundations that are within the regions and internationally, so that they can be able to share ideas to enhance them, to come up with new initiatives and innovations to tackle environmental challenges and to come up with better programs.
Thank you so much, Sarawa. So you have mentioned certain important points, especially partnership building, capacity building, and funding to ensure that the networks of environmental organizations in the Gambia are strengthened, because obviously with the alliance, organizations are focused on different issues. Some are on gender and climate, some are on nature-based solutions, green jobs, etc. So it's really important that you have mentioned these things, and I'm hoping that policymakers and agencies that are actually here are taking heed of some of the things that you have shared. And you've also mentioned that the reason why we're having these alliances is because young people are going beyond talking, but ensuring that what we're saying is being put into practice, that is walking the talk. And this is quite remarkable given how the youth climate network or movement in the Gambia has evolved over the years. And that will bring me to our next speaker here. So UNICEF has mentioned some of the engagements that they have done, including the initiation of the Youth Voices from Sahel. And that is why we're very much happy to have a representative here who is a child and also one of our youngest members at Clean Art Gambia, and one of the representatives of the Gambia at the Youth Voices for Sahel, who's going to tell us what or how young people could take the lead in championing initiatives on climate change. How can children and young people in the Gambia champion or take the lead in addressing climate change?
Oh, thank you for that question. And I would like to say young people can also take can also champion the cause of fighting climate change through sensitization and creating awareness to our fellow peers in schools and in our communities. And also, you mentioned we can also fight climate change by not only walking the talk, but not only talking the walk, but also walking the talk. So we can also do proactive measures. We can also take proactive measures to fight climate change, not only talking, but also walking to achieve climate change, to achieve the end of climate change. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Excel. That was quite precise and straight to the point. So these are some of the initiatives that young people could basically take in addressing climate change in the Gambia. So this will bring me back to the Minister of Environment and Climate Change in the Gambia. We have seen the recent success of the Gambia as far as our NDC is concerned, which is our national determined contribution. As I've mentioned initially, Gambia is the only country so far whose NDC is compatible to the IPCC 1.5 report. So this shows that Gambia is one of the only countries who is at least trying to make commitments in ensuring that we go well beyond the 1.5 degree Celsius. as well as ensuring that at least some of the threats that we're facing as far as climate change globally is concerned. So how is the country going to make efforts in the implementation of the NDCs? Because obviously, when it comes to the policy aspect, we have done remarkably well. But also, the implementation aspect is also very important. So how is the government going to make efforts in the implementation of these NDCs?
Thank you, Fatu. This is a very important question, and the presence of the young people here also makes it very relevant. As you have rightly said, Gambia, among the 200 members of the UNFCCC, is the only country that has a plan that is compliant to the Paris Agreement. And this is a big achievement for the country, and we thank our partners, particularly the UN system, for supporting us to review our NDC. Since Glasgow COP26, there have been some work that we have started on, and one of which was the Bantaba that we organized just to sensitize people that from here, we are now in the implementation phase of the NDC that highlights the key priority areas that are identified. And for us, we are ready for the implementation. And I can tell you the implementation has started. Right now, we are engaging our partners. Just a month ago, I had a discussion with the UK, West and Central Africa climate change advisor, together with the UK ambassador for COP26 for Africa and the Middle East, who came here purposely to see what we are doing after COP26. And we intend to already do resource mobilization with the support of all the partners that we have started. And right now, I can say we have 2 major projects that are linked to our NDC. And the key areas that are identified in the NDC is agriculture, energy, waste management, restoration, and resilience building. These are key areas that we have identified that help us to be able to be on that global stage where we have committed ourselves to ensure that our agriculture do not only depend on rain-fed agriculture, because we know that 75% of our population depend on agriculture as a livelihood. So developing that will help us to see that one is a sector that is sensitive to climate change, as she highlighted. And let me digress a bit, Fatu. We are faced with challenges, serious challenges. As African people, as Gambians, our population is increasing exponentially. And we have the same land that we are still blessed with. But how do we use the power of innovation, research, science and technology to produce more food for our increasing population? This is the challenge that we are faced with. And IMF has predicted that by 2030, Africa alone will have 1.7 billion people on the face of Africa. How do we cater for the food need of these people, the energy need of these people, the housing need of these people, and we have the same land? So there, we must be innovative. This is what we're trying to employ in the agriculture sector, to look at not only depend on rain-fed agriculture, but how do we also ameliorate the effects of agricultural waste on emitting greenhouse gases. This is one thing that we are looking at. The other thing, and that is why we got some support from the Adaptation Fund. Together with WFP, we have secured $10 million that I have just launched that project just 2 weeks ago. That project will go to support our smallholder farmers to see how best to enhance their resilience, even with the worst case scenario of less rain. How do we enable them to sail smoothly through that shock of climate climate catastrophe. So this is one area, Fatu, the implementation has started. The other area that we have already started mobilizing resources is restoration, which is a big issue for the Gambia. Because we have, if you look at the 1952 map of Gambia, you have seen that almost 75% of our land is all green, was all green. But because population is increasing, because we need to farm, we need to eat, we need to, our housing, urbanization, all those are factors that are taking effect on climate change. But as a government, we also develop what we call SPCR, Strategic Program on Climate Resilience, that look at climate in interfacing with food security, disaster risk reduction, urban resilient infrastructure, and these are some of the things that we are working on. On the energy side, we, as a government, we know we have a mixed energy policy, that by 2030, we want to have 50% of the energy requirement of this country from renewables. And that is already here, because already we have the OMVG infrastructure that was funded by 8 donors to the tune of $722 million under my ministry. Of course, we are working with other ministries like the Ministry of Energy. And this infrastructure, I'm happy to tell you, is ready. And today, just this morning, I was talking to the MD of NAWEC to see what amount of energy is on that line. And he told me we have 25 megawatts. That is enough for now for urban area supply. That is why this time of the Ramadan, Kiankas would not cry of ice block, because we have enough electricity for them and it's stable. So this, we have already started the implementation. The school program, the school lighting, and all those are areas. You go to Jam City, which is 20 megawatts of solar, supported by World Bank. You also have the NAMA facility, that is the Nationally Appropriate Mitigation Action under the Ministry of Environment, that already we have secured the space for them in Farafenye and Basse to produce 10 megawatts of solar. So Fatu, the implementation has started. We need to mobilize more resources, and you, the young people, you have a greater role in the implementation of this NDC, because it's all costed. You are everywhere. You are not only in environment, you are everywhere. Wherever you go, your vulnerability surfaces. So therefore, how do we help to support? And he talked about green jobs. Fatu, already we have, my ministry, we have developed a concept with the UNCCD, and the COP is coming.
Yes.
I don't know whether you will be there in May. The COP is coming in Abidjan, where we have already identified the vulnerability of young people. And these young people, what do we want to do for them? We want them to depend on our natural heritage, to create natural resource entrepreneurship, to support them, to produce agroforestry, but also do horticulture. This is in the plan. We are discussing with the Ministry of Youth, we are discussing with the Ministry of Trade to see how best, and even the Ministry of Tourism, to how to see the marketing aspect, the packaging aspect, the processing aspect, and all that. So the implementation has started. And let me just finish this. Waste management. Waste management, we believe also, is another area where young people can be engaged. To not only sensitize the population, but also actively engage in either sorting or create that value chain employment for young people. So here you have an opportunity. We have a lot of things on the plate for the young people of this country, but we need to sit and frankly dialogue and see. My Wolof is not very good. But we have great potentials in this country. That I have seen people here in this country who are having $3 million is minimum from cashew nut. $3 million is on annual basis. 1.5 million on annual basis. If you have that, who do you need to employ you? You don't need anybody to employ you. So young people, we have a lot of opportunity. And Fatu, I'm glad that I'm on this panel to inform the general population that the NDC is ready for implementation, and we have the support of our partners, and we need the support of the young people and the population in general to build, one, the capacity of our local people, to enhance their resilience, and also have a more responsible, productive and consumption system. You talk about food system here. We need that responsible production and production system. That will help us to believe in the Gambia government just recently launched the green pathway to recovery after COVID. And this is the way we want to go. We want to go green, and young people, you are part and parcel of it. It's your cake, and nobody can eat it for you.
Definitely. Thank you so much, Honorable Minister. Young people, it is our cake, and no one can eat it for us. You've heard it from the Minister himself. And the fact that you have mentioned that work has started is a really good sign as far as our NDC is concerned, because I was even going through the Adaptation Fund, the project that the Gambia received, and I was looking at the nature-based solution projects that you were implementing in the rural Gambia, and I was able to see over 100 plus has been implemented in terms of supporting farmers for their sustainable livelihoods. And the fact that the Gambia, again, when it comes to our NAPA and our national energy policy, our national climate policies, our NEMA, etc., you could see that it synergizes with our NDC, and it makes it quite easy in terms of the implementation. And again, young people, green job is definitely the future for us. And Minister has mentioned the issue of innovation, especially for sustainable food consumption. We have a lot of opportunities in terms of the ecotourism aspect, waste management aspect, among others. And we need more young people on board to really support and complementing the government's effort in the implementation of our NDCs and other national climate policies. Thank you so much, Minister.
I know, Fatou, I just forgot one key restoration program that we have just secured 7 million euro from AFD, the French Agency for Development. Initially, they wanted to support us for 5 million. But when we took them around to see what activities we are doing through the EBA project, Ecosystem-Based Adaptation Project, that we've started in 2017, they've increased this amount to 7 million euros. So we are looking at, and that, you know, we want to flip again into another business called carbon trading, which is a completely different topic that I would not discuss here.
Yeah,
that is something else
that's a technical discussion.
But I can assure you that when we get all these carbon sinks, we should be able to quantify what amount of carbon we are sequestrating and how much we can trade off in accordance with Article 6.4 of the Paris Agreement.
Definitely. Thank you so much. We're looking forward to hearing what the ministry is going to be doing as far as the issue of the carbon trading is concerned. So I'll just move to the Unicef because evidence has actually shown how girls and young people are impacted when climate change occurs, ranging from several impacts or threats that they actually face. And ensuring children and young people receive quality education is one of the most powerful strategies in addressing climate change. So what is UNICEF doing towards that, or how is UNICEF working towards that particular strategy?
Thank you very much, Fatou. UNICEF works with the young people to raise awareness and to take actions for the climate change in their community, but also regional and global. As I mentioned earlier, at the global level, they are the forum of young people connect with the Sahelian other 10 countries and also the world leaders to contribute their discussions and also the contribution towards the climate actions, so that climate change policies will be truly child sensitive. And I'd like to, UNICEF would like to congratulate the government effort and then the leadership, because the Gambia is one of the few countries where the climate change policy is child sensitive. And now I can see the reason. So very active engagement and young people and flat dialogue, and also not only that, but also stimulate hope and then the possibility for the future. But now also, like after the Honorable Minister's intervention, we feel a lot of hope for the future. And also we need to make effort to generate innovations. For that, we need to expand also our partnership, which UNICEF is continuously doing, partnership with children and young people and also academias, private sectors, government and donors and civil societies to tap collective intellectual knowledge so that we can really respond to the climate change. And I'd like to also mention that SDGs towards 2030, there are 5 key P's. And first P is people, and then the planet, and then prosperity, yes, you memorize, and peace, and partnership. So all 5 P's are really part of this climate actions. So that's why I think we are at the milestones. We have to take action today, not tomorrow, because this is urgent crisis, but also we can generate hope through this kind of dialogues, and then also work closely with the young people who are here and then everywhere actually. So UNICEF will basically continuously work with young people throughout our program to raise awareness, contribute for the advocacy for the child-sensitive climate policy, and also to encourage young people to take action in their community or in their schools, everyday life. And also I wanted to add for UNICEF program, we also ensure that the climate-sensitive designs, human-centric approach. For example, like schools and health facilities have solar-powered water sanitation facilities or vaccine cold chains. So we are also working more to improve our own program as well. And climate change and resilience are actually part of UNICEF global strategic plan as well as a cross-cutting field. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Yes, definitely quite a good thing that UNICEF is doing, and Clean Earth Gambia is definitely very much happy to be working with UNICEF as far as the lineup of the activities are concerned, which actually started on Saturday. And we're really looking forward to more engagements as far as the young people and children are concerned in the climate, in addressing climate change in the Gambia. But we'll just take a few minutes to just have a question and answer session from our audience.
Hi, my name is Amifai. I am the Clean Earth Core Volunteer Coordinator. So, and we have some of our high school volunteers here who we had a school outreach a few weeks ago, and since then they have been very interested in issues of climate change, and they would want to ask questions because we know children are very vulnerable when it comes to climate change and their voices should be heard. So we are going to go around and take questions if they have any. Okay.
Yeah, I have a question to the minister. My question is, how does the country involve young children, especially school-going children, and most especially also rural students, in climate change? How do we make them aware on it?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Aissatou Jaita, Volunteer Coordinator for Clean Earth Gambia. This question is for the Minister. The Gambia is also a supporter of the Gender Action Plan. How is the government working towards implementing the Gender Action Plan?
Hello, my name is Dauda Cham, a volunteer for Clean Earth Gambia, but also from the Youth Voices from the Sahel. That is a UNICEF initiative. And I was fortunate to participate in the 9 World Water Forum through UNICEF. So to the Minister, in September last year, there has been reports that Gambia is the only country that is in compliance with the Paris Agreement. And this actually caused a heated debate online and amongst environmental activists that this is not actually reflective of the realities in the Gambia. So how did the government receive this, and is this really reflective of the realities of our state?
Yes, I think this is very important. We had several outreach programs, school programs, on different projects that we have rolled out. And the Action Against Desertification, AAD, I was opportune myself to visit some of the schools that we have this tree growing program, as well as how do we enable the schools to use, cooking stoves that are environmentally friendly. And we have clubs in schools that we engage when we give them seedlings to grow their own seedlings, as well as do tree planting and also sensitize their communities. Because we have the firm conviction that education psychologists will tell you, if you want to have lasting impact, you need to engage people when they are young, and you instill that knowledge, that skill in them. They will never lose those skills, and they will never forget it at that early age. So that was prompted us to use the AAD project, the Action Against Desertification. This is a Pan-African project that is around the Sahel. And the outcome of that is that our embassy in Brussels received an award from the European Union that our project is the most outstanding project for supporting communities and also doing restoration. So we are engaging young people at school level, but with the new NDC, we have different levels that we need to do community engagement at women and young people, and that will lead me to our question of gender platform. How do we engage of recent, you have seen, I have attended the, how do you call it, CSW conference with the Minister of Gender, because world leaders have realized that women are the people who interact most with the environment. And climate change has impacted on their lives and their livelihoods because they are living with the environment. And how do we sustain that is to engage and see how do they feel about. And my ministry, if you look at the climate change policy, as he said, is not only children-friendly, child-friendly, but also is gender-sensitive. We are alive to the fact that women are very essential in the implementation of the plan. And as a result, our climate change secretariat that we have just set up have gone on a countrywide tour to look at women and their engagement with climate action, particularly those doing rice production. I told you the production of paddy rice also contribute a lot to greenhouse gas emission. How do we engage these women? And you know, after that, what do we do to provide some of them that are highly vulnerable with alternative economic opportunities to build their resilience and enhance their resilience? And to you, yes, when I read the comments, I laughed. You see, sometimes you need not to be very myopic. We need to be broad-minded. When certain good things happen to your country, you need to appreciate it. The fact that out of 200 countries, Gambia was singled out. In 2019, when we were in Madrid, I think I was voiced by several international media houses that Gambia and Morocco were the only two countries that were Paris compliant. And in 2021, 2022, Gambia stand out single. So I think this is a big achievement. Yes, as I said, population increase also has its toll on our environment. But the reality of the matter is, what progressive policies do government pursue? This is what we are talking about. And what plans do we have to ameliorate that? How do we reduce greenhouse gas emission? How do we ensure that we decarbonize our economy? How do we set our ambition, the ambition that we have set for ourselves? When we review the NDC, we brought the greenhouse gas level up by another 4 percentage points. When we said by 2030, 2050, we need to have zero net carbon emission. And we have developed a vision to that. And we have already developed a strategy that will help us to achieve that. So that is what they are looking at. But also, we are doing so much restoration with the ecosystem-based adaptation project that led us to have this 7 million euro from the Agency for French Development to restore more of our mangrove ecosystems. And we know we are also working with this university in the UK that they have conducted some studies as to what ecosystem is most efficient in absorbing carbon. And they've realized that the the mangrove ecosystem is the most efficient. So if we are expanding on that, then that means that we are making progress. And let me add this, Fatou. When this thing happened, BBC journalists came to interview me. RFI, they interviewed me. Al Jazeera.
Even at COP as well.
Yeah, at COP, yes, Al Jazeera interviewed me. But the most astonishing question that was asked by BBC was that, Mr. Minister, don't you think it's an irony that you are planning to do oil exploration at the same time you have an ambitious plan of zero net carbon emission by 2050? Yes, we have factored all that in the NDC that will tell you that we have so much both terrestrial and marine ecosystem to be able to absorb whatever, to negate that effect of oil exploration on our ecosystems. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much for joining us in this interactive intergenerational panel discussion. I believe we've heard from the different stakeholders that have been present here regarding the work that we're doing and the Gambia in addressing climate change. But again, how far we have to go as far as addressing the vulnerability of the Gambia towards climate change is concerned. We've seen here that all the speakers have mentioned the importance of young people, children and women in the fight against climate change. And we've also seen how we have been tasked as young people again to ensure that we actively take part in not only mobilizing and complementing efforts, but also ensuring that at least we invest or we engage more in green job initiatives. So thank you so much, Honorable Minister. Thank you so much to our UNICEF Deputy Representative. Thank you to our Children Rep and our Youth Rep for being here with us today. So this again is an event organized by UNICEF the Gambia and Clean Earth the Gambia as we commemorate Earth Day 2022 in the Gambia with the team Invest in Our Planet. I was your host, Fatou Jai.
It is a scientifically proven fact that climate change and global warming are in the rise, and the impacts are already felt here in the Gambia, ranging from increased temperatures, erratic rainfall, flood, sea level rise, etc. These affect our key economic sector, such as agriculture. In fact, the report has indicated that climate change in the Gambia could lead in up to 1 meter rise in sea level, which could potentially inundate 8% of the country's land area. This rise in sea level would adversely affect the productive sectors that I've mentioned, and it would continue to cause more hunger and poverty.
The last rainy seasons, most of the people in the rural Gambia have suffered a drought and that of windstorm. So the government needs to invest more on resilient energy, science and technology in order to mitigate those problems that we are facing.
To mitigate these impacts and ensure that our communities and our ecosystems are resilient, we must promote climate education in our schools and our communities, invest heavily in research and development, and also invest more in reforestation and reduce the extensive exploitation of our limited resources. Finally, in all these processes, young people must be included, because the inclusion of young people means innovation, creativity, and proactiveness in the fight against climate change.
Dear policymakers, we do not want our policies to be picture frames. We want them to be implemented. Create the change we wish to see. Thank you.